All right, well, I have 2 minutes after the hour. So, hello, everybody. I'm Marty Rosendale. I'm the CEO of the Maryland Tech Council. Welcome to our first industry virtual series for 2021. Maryland Tech Council is the industry trade association representing the technology and life science industries throughout Maryland. Together with our members, we're improving the business climate in Maryland and helping companies that save, secure, and improve lives around the globe. The Industry Virtual Series is designed to introduce you to programs and executives that are also supporting industry, innovators, and entrepreneurs in the region. Our topic today is Workforce in 2021, and my guest is Alex Austin, Director of Business Services for Employee Prince George's. Alex, welcome to the Maryland Tech Council.
Oh, Marty, great to be here. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. Your microphones right now are on mute. However, you'll find the chat and Q&A features at the bottom of your screen. You can use those features to make comments or ask questions anytime during the conversation today. I'll be monitoring both the chat and the Q&A, so I'll be able to incorporate those comments and questions into our discussion as we go. Also, this Zoomcast is being recorded and will be made available for others to watch or listen to at a later time. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. So, Alex, let's jump right in. So you're a business leader. You're experienced in investment banking. Today, you're focused on helping other businesses and CEOs and founders build their workforce and leadership teams. Give us an idea, what was your path to get to where you are today, and why are you passionate about workforce?
Absolutely. So my experience is kind of a hybrid of both entrepreneurial and corporate experience, where I've been in the shoes of founders, business owners, have been in the opportunity where I had to source talent, have also worked at a corporate level where human capital was a major part of decision when companies scale or they grow. And also, with that combined relationship management experience, understanding how important it is, and with economic statistics, how the workforce is really the driving engine behind all companies. If you don't have a good workforce, you don't have a good supply of people, you really don't have much to sustain. The best example of that would be more of an Amazon. When they came, H2 came, it was a huge adjustment, so to speak. And so with that being said, I was introduced to Employee Prince George's. I got a chance to listen to the CEO, Mr. Walter Simmons, got a chance to meet him personally, understood the vision. It's in a place that's close to my heart. I am a native Prince Georgian, have grown up here and love it. And so, the ability to help people bring knowledge and collaborate with industry professionals, both inside the organization and outside the organization, is what drives my passion.
Cool. So Alex, I'm curious, given your background in investment banking, excuse me, what is the relationship between workforce and leadership in investment?
Absolutely. So, the primary cause, right, when you think about, scaling your company, we always think about, money or debt or leveraging debt. Okay. So you need an X amount, you need to raise capital, you need to get an SBA loan, so to speak, so you can grow your product or service. But what does it cost to onboard talented professionals, right? That's part of the balance sheet, right? What is it going to cost me if I need 20 software engineers to outsource, to market, to train, to upskill? It has a significant cost associated with it. And so those dollars can be allocated to human capital development, or they can be allocated to marketing, which is more strategic. And when you think about the decisions, you have to think strategically about where you're getting your workforce from. You have to think about the tools and technologies and methods from a cost perspective of what is it going to cost you to get the return on investment or the value of the human capital investment that you're making. And so, when you're looking at aligning with, say, a third party to source that talent, that has a cost associated with it. So all of that, when you think about employee retention, the cost to onboard, the cost to train, the cost to maintain that employment versus how long employees stay, or how they advance, all has a bottom line to a particular investor or founder or CEO. So when you align with a workforce development organization such as Employee Prince George's, see, that cost is eliminated. The workforce intelligence data align with certain human resource departments of organizations. We can collaborate and provide that data at no cost, and as well as sourcing and recruiting. So, if it costs you $100,000 to onboard 20 to 50 employees over a 2 to 3 year period, that 100,000 quantified by 2 can actually come back to your bottom line.
Yeah, cool. So I know you've got some data and you've got some slides. The workforce has changed over the past year, and I'm really curious to see the data and information that you've got for us today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Can you all see my screen?
It's coming up now. There we go.
Awesome. So I want to talk a little bit about before COVID. We were talking about earlier, Marty, about workforce trends. And so how remote work is really kind of matriculating into the workforce and becoming more of a standard. So this trend, we actually found this data with collaboration of Global Workforce Analytics and FlexJobs. And this was very surprising to me where, 12 years ago, remote work, or the concept of remote work, was growing, up to 159%. And as you can see over time, it has become more of a standard. But even before COVID, remote work was becoming more and more of a prevalent conversation in nature. And now with Zoom and other software tools, Microsoft Teams, it makes it very easy, particularly if you're dealing with people, to be functional. Your geographic limitations are eliminated. And so, COVID, I think, the health pandemic accelerated just kind of where certain industries were already headed.
Yeah, no, I hope you don't mind me interrupting between slides here, but I find this data fascinating. I could tell this trend was happening, but I didn't realize it was happening to that extent prior to COVID.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, a lot of things, to our surprise, particularly here at Employer Prince George, is what we found is that as we had to adjust because of the health pandemic, we found that a lot of other companies had to adjust, but then there were mechanisms and tools already in place to make the adjustment, which, going forward, it's going to be an interesting standard to adjust to, because technology gets faster. Right. So, one of the things that we can jump to is really and talk about the workforce disruptions and remote work. So we had a conversation early on, Marty, where, we talked about onboarding. I think we're going to, hopefully discuss this a little later on, but even concepts of onboarding have changed. Companies are onboard using platforms and technology to onboard a lot faster. A lot of your communication firsthand is done through your mobile phone. So there are a lot of unique things that I find that my team is finding that are very, very beneficial and positive toward the future. So I want to jump down a little bit more to talk, obviously we know, during the pandemic, there was a surge in remote work because of choice, not because of choice, because of force. We had to adjust across the board. But here's something that was very surprising to me. And this was a survey that was done late last year, where 59% of all workers who are working from home prefer that option post-COVID.
Now, I have to say, and I know I said this to you before we went live with the webinar, but I find this fascinating. Most people that I know, even the ones that were, before the pandemic, were saying we all need to work from home more, are at home right now saying, man, I wish I could get out and see people. So I'm really surprised by this statistic.
No, absolutely. I mean, as we shared before, we're much busier working from home than traveling into the office. Mm-hmm. It definitely eliminates geographic limitations. It also gives us more creativity around the workday. The 9-to-5 model it still exists for certain industries, but there are other industries, particularly if you're dealing with people or you're communicating across different channels, geographic regions, and time zones. It gives you the ability now to extend and be more creative around how we work and how we communicate.
Yeah. So Alex, take a minute, if you would, tell us about Employer Prince George's and
Absolutely.
the resources and support that you provide.
Oh, there are a ton of resources. Employer Prince George's is a 501c3 nonprofit based in Prince George's County, Maryland. We're located at 1801 McCormick Drive in Largo, Maryland, or Upper Marlboro. And we have a number of different programs. Our primary focus is connecting job seekers to employers. So there's two sides of the spectrum. From the job seekers perspective, we have the American Job Center, which is located right downstairs in our building, 1801, which is now virtual as well. And through there, you can receive career resources. You can have assign a career counselor who can help you kind of understand the Maryland Workforce Exchange, which is the database that we work off of, has a number of different employers and job seekers in there. But you can get your resume crafted, posted, help you with maybe matching employers. We have soft skills training and different training options through our education and training department. Soft skills, from interviewing. We definitely focus on those primary soft skills that will help job seekers get employed. But then also too, we have different programs for our youth. We have different cohorts through our strategic partnerships. And then, our industry bridge, which is related to the IT industry, is EPIC, right? Which stands for Educational Partnership for IT Careers. So this is traditionally centered at educating, bringing knowledge and awareness, and making connections for job seekers to employers. So some of the other programs that we have, again, our youth center, so our Youth Career Connection, and then we have KEYS, which is knowledge equals youth success. And so if we're looking at, bridging the gap, right? If we're looking at bringing awareness of the IT industry to underserved communities, particularly in the youth who are born into technology, can adapt to technology very quickly. It is second nature. This is a great opportunity and great program for that type of exposure. We also have services for veterans. A lot of veterans have served time in the military, have learned a number of skills, transitioning out of the military. And so this is a great opportunity to connect those skills with employers who, one, are looking to hire veterans, could be former veterans themselves who started companies, and just again, to make the connection. But for employers, we have a number of different services as well. Primarily, one of the main things that we offer on a consistent basis is hot job. These are the opportunities that are readily available. Employers are looking to hire in less than 30 days, want to get the information out there. We send it out to our networks relatively quickly. Labor market intelligence through several various channels that we have partnerships with. We're able to provide labor market intelligence at no cost to our employers that will help them make better decisions for human capital, for hiring, job descriptions, understanding wage data, understanding regional geographic locations for hiring trends, and even soft skills that may be in demand that they should look for. And so, we have customized recruitment events. Right now, we are virtual, but we have developed a structure for creating virtual events relatively quickly. We can, from start to finish, we can have a meeting with an employer and be structured and ready to have a hiring event hosted within 72 hours.
So I'm going to dig in a little bit deeper. Before I do, though, I want to let people know, Tina Foster just posted the website in the Q&A, and then I copied it and pasted it into the chat. So I think everybody should be able to see it in the chat room.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I want to dig in a little bit deeper. So you're talking about doing recruiting events for single companies, not like a career fair where you've got 15 or 20 companies, but for a single company. But what does that look like?
Absolutely. So primarily our first introduction obviously is a Zoom call just like this, where we have all relative stakeholders on the call. More than likely will be an industry specialist, one of the business consultants from the team. We may have assistance from other departments depending on the need or severity of the recruitment event for the employer. And then we'll go through and I'll try to understand, okay, what are your needs? Ask specific questions about the job descriptions or many job descriptions, the hours, the range, the salary ranges, point of contact, time that you want to, or timing to onboard, and also begin to set realistic expectations so that employers understand what it's going to take, what is out there for them. One of our more notable hiring events was the U.S. Census Bureau a couple months ago. We've had tremendous success where we were able to recruit and forward over employees for a campaign that they had. We've had interest from companies in Italy. We've had interest from companies in various industries and skill sets that they're looking for. And so it helps us to, one, again, understand what the needs are of the company, but also set realistic expectations behind onboarding. And once we can craft that into a process, we present that to the employer, we get them registered in the Maryland Workforce Exchange, we get the job descriptions posted, we begin to source. And so we can go to the hiring event with talent that's already interested, and then we set a date and time and we launch.
So Alex, I'm curious, you spend a lot of time working with the employer, the company, trying to make sure you understand what it is they need and they're looking for. How often do you find that they don't understand what they need and what they're looking for?
So I wouldn't say that employers don't understand. I think our job is to really scale down what they understand. Mm-hmm. If you're an employer, particularly, depending on the size of the business, I'll give an example. Recently, we just had a conversation with Tesla. Tesla sent an email. We had a phone call. They said, I need X, Y, and Z. Here's everything you need. I'll call you in a couple of days. That was it. For smaller employers that aren't the size of Tesla, and you may be the CEO, you may be the CFO, the head sales guy, the HR person, you wear a lot of different hats. So our job is to really extract the one specific thing that you're looking for and help you craft that into a message, because employers know what they want. They know what they're looking for. We just have to get it into the right message and get it into the right process and make it easier so that you can do it.
All right. So this is probably my most important question of the afternoon. Can you get me a job with Tesla?
Listen, I can't, but I can forward your resume. I don't have the final say with Tesla, but I tell you, one of the things that I've learned from those larger companies, particularly companies that are technology focused and platform based, is they have an efficiency process that is lightning fast. Mm-hmm. They seem to answer a lot of the questions, and maybe this is just technology. They seem to answer a lot of the questions before you ask, mm-hmm. So that they can hurry up and get to the next step and get to. So I found that trend to be pretty steady amongst the larger companies that are more advanced in their internal processes.
Yeah, interesting. So let's come back to the pandemic for a minute. So we've been navigating this pandemic for a year now. Been a lot of lessons learned in a lot of areas. What are some of those lessons learned about the IT workforce, and what things do you expect to stick beyond the pandemic?
So I would say IT has been pretty steady throughout the pandemic in terms of hiring trends. The positions that we've seen that were in demand were still in demand during COVID. Unlike some other industries, there wasn't really much of a large variation. So no surprise with the IT industry. It will always have in-demand opportunities, high-paying, well-skilled. But one of the things that I think it was surprising were the number of the skill shifts, right? When you think IT, at least in my mind, I would always think about technical certifications. Networking, CompTIA, AWS, you need those, which you do need. Mm-hmm. So there's no way around that. You need that, and you need to constantly upskill. At the pace that IT moves, you have to be in front of the wave. But one of the things that I thought was very unique is as I noticed how use of mobile integration as becoming more of a prominent mode of communication. Even with interviewing, I mean, you can look at Zoom, you can Zoom anywhere, but mobile technology methods are becoming more and more common, particularly with the audience. And I think that's more of an age demographic than anything else. If you're recruiting, with 25, I don't say 25, 35 and younger, you're more likely to use a mobile phone than a laptop or a tablet. But skills is one that I've noticed has taken a shift. Obviously, IT, you need the technical skills, but an increase in soft skills has been something that I've seen consistently, at least in the labor market information, that it actually has been a surprise. And I can go through a few. So, we pulled a labor market report for fourth quarter 2020. The number one skill that we've seen is you must be flexible. So flexibility, is one where, and adaptability. You have to be able to problem solve. You have to be able and willing to provide information. Know your industry, know your market, know the trends. But the last three are very, very highly and heavily sought in IT, and that's verbal communication, customer service. Actually, last two, I'm sorry. Verbal communication and customer service are some of the high in demand skills for high paying IT positions.
That's interesting. So I'm curious, so when you're looking at that and you hear that, and you're talking to potential applicants, how do you assess customer service?
Absolutely. So primarily in our department, when we're introduced to an applicant or they come to us, they've already been vetted through our career services department, as well as our education and training department, and in some cases, our talent acquisition department. So there's a vetting process that is filtered where when we're introduced to an applicant or job seeker to make a connection, we already know that they've been through certain training programs or they come with a certain credential. And so now when we talk to an employer, it's really just making the connection.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting, 'cause I know the soft skills are very important, but they can also be very difficult to assess in an interview process. That's why I was curious about that.
Absolutely. So there are different methods that are used in other departments where, we can test for the soft skills, or we can go through and do an analysis. And then that information is shared with us internally. Mm-hmm. And then but again, you can't necessarily determine what an employer, they have their own process as well. What we try to do is aid in the process. And depending on the employer, and whatever platforms or skills that they use will also give a different analysis. So a lot of times, we like to have some soft conversation with employers, but we like to leave the ultimate due diligence on that perspective to the employer.
Mm-hmm. So I got us a little bit off track. You were talking about the impact of the pandemic and what that's done with respect to the IT workforce and some of the lessons learned there. What has it done to wages?
Yeah, so I definitely believe that wages will, particularly in geographic areas like Washington, D.C., the wages will be pretty much the same or pretty even. But because of remote work, and this is something that we have discussed internally as a department, it will, I think, create some opportunities for employers to hire in regions that don't necessarily require some of the higher wage opportunities. You can find the same talent in markets that may pay 10 to 15% less in some cases. You have Facebook, which is hiring in all markets, Tesla hiring in certain markets, some higher wage, some not. But when you look at the cost to an employer, if I have half of my employees with the same skill set in say Midwest areas where the cost of living is a lot less than say the East Coast, I have to look at that from a balance sheet perspective. Mm-hmm. And so I do think that there are going to be opportunities for employers to readjust their long-term planning based on where they can find talent. For example, just as a correlation, many, many years ago, employers were going offshore to find talent. It's kind of that same scenario. If I can outsource the talent for a fraction of the cost, it helps my bottom line. So I think IT will be presented with that, but not as severe as say other industries, because there's a lot of talent here domestically, and it's very spread out. So it's just a matter of casting a wide net and filtering in. And so one of the things that we want to do here at Employment Prince George's is really kind of marry underserved communities who want to get into the industry or be introduced to the industry from an entry-level perspective, all the way up to a mid-level. And that also can to have some conversations around diversity and inclusion, as well as earnings with scenario.
We do have a comment here from Karen Gertler. She says, Employee Prince George's sounds like an excellent resource for both employers and job seekers.
I would agree. No, absolutely. I have to be, huh?
I figured you might agree.
Yeah. Honestly, I have to say, I've been with Employee Prince George's for a little over a year. I've had the experience of both being in virtual hiring events, public hiring events. I had the opportunity to sit with strategic partners, sit in with meetings with executive leadership, work with all departments. It is truly an amazing effort that everyone has. We're all a team. So, you know, I've just been blown away. And for it to be in my backyard, and I'm not saying this because I'm on the call, but being a native Prince Georgian and seeing the effort and the work and the ideas and the creativity and just the relentlessness to help job seekers get back to work, it is definitely an honor to work here.
So, Alex, there's been another conversation that's come to the forefront in the last year, and that's the conversation around inclusivity and equity. And I know some of the folks on the webinar today have probably heard me say this before, but I did have a colleague recently say to me, if your leadership team and your inner circle is not diverse, then your perspective is limited. And I think that it's crucial. Diversity today and inclusivity is so important to competitiveness. What does an organization like Employee Prince George's, what can you do, what do you do to help a company, you know, with that, with inclusivity, with equity, with diversity?
Absolutely. And so that actually is a topic of conversation almost on a daily, weekly basis here. We have definitely engaged in different platforms and programs and partnerships that will help us to bridge the gap. I mean, that's essentially the goal. We have partnered with 2U, and we have a program right now where we are looking to place a number of job seekers through a portion of a program where there are stakeholders, you know, employers have made commitments to you, partner with George Washington University, and then obviously the job seeker to transition into mid-level careers. And that is skills training, that is, you know, and some apprenticeships in some cases where, you know, companies are looking to bring on talent, teach them crafts and skills to learn the industry. And that happens, you know, primarily at the youth level, where we have paid internships and paid apprenticeships. So there's conversations in just about every program that we offer from the job seeker perspective has the end goal in mind for us as the business service team connecting employers for the goal of job diversity and inclusion. So, you know, if you visit our website, you'll see that, you know, with our industry bridge programs, the information sessions that we have with employers, the cohort programs and trainings that we have is really geared at meeting that need for employers.
Mm-hmm. So I want to come back to something you were talking about a couple of minutes ago, and that's development of soft skills. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we've done at the Tech Council, we've produced a leadership team, a group of CEOs that meet about quarterly and get together and provide advice to Montgomery College about what are they looking for? What do they need, not only today, but what are they going to need a few years from now as far as talent, as far as workforce? Mm-hmm. And we can't have a meeting where we don't get into a discussion around, you know, what you're calling soft skills. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, so you talked about Employee Prince George's helps people develop those soft skills. Mm-hmm. Could you talk a little bit more about how you do that? And from an employer's perspective, why and how should they be looking to you? I'm not wording this properly, but how do they have the confidence in those soft skills when somebody has gone through your programs?
Absolutely. So, my conversation around development of soft skills is limited, considering that is an entire department focused on that.
Mhm.
What I can tell you is through our education training department, as well as certain platforms that we have, Skill Up PG, Prince George's, on our website, where you can, some of it is self-paced, you can go through and there's a myriad of different opportunities, but we do have a dedicated department of professionals that focuses particularly on those soft skills in our education and training department.
So Tina Foster just sent that website,
Mhm.
and I reposted it into the chat room for everybody to be able to access.
Absolutely.
So thank you for that. I mean, it's really interesting because I know the universities and the colleges struggle with that. How do we teach soft skills, and then how do we confirm? How do we give employers confidence that we have in fact departed that skill set?
Absolutely. So Skill Up Prince George's is one that we actually use. We've used as a department. We've used internally. It is a great resource. It's a free resource. Again, you can log on and there are hundreds of courses that can give you project management. It can give you resume development. It can give you interviewing tips. It can give you, anything you want on there, it's there. And it's a free resource and tool that is offered to anyone who wants to register. But not only that, just even the interpersonal communication, is we have professionals who are very skilled at helping bring out the soft skills. Because a lot of times it's just, again, it's much like the employers. Job seekers may know, you got to bring it out of them.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I want to remind everybody, if you have a question or a comment, you can use the chat or the Q&A. And Alex, before we open up to questions and answers, is there anything that we have not covered this afternoon that you would like to cover?
Absolutely. Marty, again, thank you for having me. I just want to actually just kind of share our contact information. And, feel free to reach out with any questions that you may have. I also want to highlight our business consultant, Ms. Sandra Flo. She's here on the screen. She is the business consultant to the information technology industry, brings a myriad of experience and know-how, and also very detailed, and would love to have Sandra talk a little bit about her findings with relative to remote work at a deeper level with the IT industry. And also just our contact information. You reach out to us, here's our email. Any questions that you may have, we're here to help at any time.
So Alex, leave that slide up so people have a chance to copy it down and make sure that they get your contact information. We do have a question here, and the question is, could you share the industry categories that you have expertise in beyond IT?
Yes, absolutely. So we focus on 5 primary industries: obviously information technology, professional services, healthcare, destination retail, and construction and logistics. Those are the core specialties of the 13 in-demand industries within Prince George's County.
And your services in each of those core industries are pretty much the same, or do they vary some?
They are the same. There may be some variation. For example, you look at healthcare, it may be more interpersonal versus technology, which could be more of a virtual presence, but primarily they are the same.
All right. So I have a question from an employer's perspective. And an employer has a lot of choices. They can go to a recruiter, they can go to the universities, the colleges. What's the differentiating value that Employ Prince George's brings that should cause an employer to go to you for this kind of support?
Absolutely. So, number one, the Maryland Workforce Exchange. It's a statewide database, but and it's free to anyone. Anyone can register, but a lot of employers may be aware, some of them may not, or may not have used it in quite a while. So just really updating on what's available to them from a job seeker perspective. It has a little over 25,000 applicants, and so you can have a diversified search. But then also, the labor market intelligence, the virtual hiring events. A lot of times, again, I mentioned this earlier on the call, where if you're looking at a third party, independent business, private business, there's a cost associated with it. If you're just starting out, or you're, in a place where your budget has some restrictions, you can look into Employee Prince George's as a free resource to help you source the talent, help you craft those job descriptions, get you the labor market data, virtual hiring events, and many more things at no cost to the employer.
That's great. So we have a comment from Mark Drury, and I bring it up because I think he's right on target here. And we've been referring to soft skills, and I've actually heard others say this as well. And Mark, I do apologize to everyone. I just couldn't think of the right phrase, and I should be better at that. But he suggests we refer to these as essential skills versus soft skills. And
I like it.
He's right about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Alex, anything else before we close?
No, Marty, I definitely appreciate the opportunity, and everyone on the call. Thank you for taking the time out to just kind of hear us. And I want to leave the information here. Please reach out if you have any questions. I'll be happy to schedule a time to talk and discuss, introduce you to the team. And again, if there's any other data, Marty, that we can provide the organization, please let us know. We are a friend. Great, thank you. So I just want to reemphasize to everybody that this is a phenomenal program. If you didn't get a chance to write down the contact information, you can contact the Tech Council. We'll get it for you. Follow up with Alex. Follow up with the team over there. They're fantastic. Alex, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. We've gone through so much in the last 12 months with respect to the pandemic and workforce. And this is such a critical issue for us and the businesses that we support. I really appreciate everything that you're doing, everything that's going on at Employee Prince George's. You guys are phenomenal. Thank you. Thank you for having us, Marty. It's a pleasure to be here, and likewise, look forward to helping in any way we can. Great. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. Again, this is Marty Rosendale with the Maryland Tech Council. I've been talking with Alex Austin from Employee Prince George's. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your support. If you're not already a member of the Tech Council, please go to our website at mdtechcouncil.com. Take a look. I think you'll find some great value there. Alex, thank you so much this afternoon. Thank you.